This is Town of Monroe Board of Finance, regular meeting, Thursday, July 21st, 6 p.m. And we can do a quick roll call. We got Rebecca O'Donnell.
Present.
Mary Hall.
Here.
Steve Kirsch.
Present.
Catherine Stoffer.
Here.
And Greg Benno.
Here.
All right. And I see Ken and I see Ron. I can't make out who else is in this. Heidi behind it. There you go. And Deb. Perfect. All right. First item is approval of the minutes and voting record for June 29th. Want to make a motion?
Steve Kirsch, I move for the approval of the meeting minutes and voting record for June 29, 2022.
I'll second. Rebecca O'Donnell, second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Beautiful. All right. Communications for selectmen. You are up.
Thank you, Mike. I only have one, which is my the memo that I emailed out earlier this afternoon and distributed here, and it is relevant to an item that is under new business. So we can, if it's fine with you, I can defer my comments when we get there.
All right. I also see we have EMS Building Committee.
That's just the monthly report.
That they got in the packet, right?
Yep, now being included in your packet, as well as it has been included in town council. It needs to be in yours as well. So no, I don't think there's anything unusual.
I was going to say, any questions or concerns about that with anybody, or didn't look like anything to me?
The chairman of the committee, Councilmember Rooney's, advised council that it's everything's on schedule. They anticipate a November project completion date or substantial completion.
Okay. And then there was also the letter in the packet from the superintendent of schools, who was not able to attend tonight, but just gave us an update on what's going on the Board of Ed side. Ron, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to speak to there, or
yeah,
totally self-explanatory.
I think the one thing, Stephanie, they did have to add they're going to have to add a teacher there due to enrollment. I think it's I think it's second grade.
Second grade, I heard.
Yeah, he's got that highlighted in the enrollment spreadsheet there. I think it's in red there. The third grouping down, Stephanie L. But the main thing I wanted to discuss were teacher negotiations are coming up, and
okay.
I think he was looking for the Board of Finance to he was looking for a representative for the Board of Finance for that committee.
Yeah, I mean, we always put somebody on there. I know Rebecca did it the last time. I was going to reach out directly to the Board of Ed to see if they had any input. I actually might volunteer myself this year, since I've never actually done it, unless somebody else has strong feelings or really wants to get involved. But I was going to talk to the Board of Ed and see what their thoughts were.
Mike, this is Steve. I was going to volunteer, but it's up to you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to talk to the chair and see what his thoughts are on it. I know, last time it got a little contentious, and Rebecca did a nice job, and it's not the easiest job, as you would say. So let me revert back on that, if that's okay.
Sure.
We have a few weeks before they have to hear on that, right, Ron?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it starts August by statute.
Pretty soon. Crazy.
Yeah,
it's going to be August 3rd.
August 17th by requirement by the state.
Perfect.
And Mike, I was at the Board of Ed meeting the other night, and I just wanted to comment on the enrollment, because as people see, the overall enrollment is down, but the elementary schools are the ones that are up, and they are across the board adding one section to each school. And the other comment that was made at the Board of Ed pertains to Monroe Elementary, and that is they're moving the art room upstairs to the conference room so that they can create another kindergarten or pre-K, I'm not sure which one.
I think it's a pre-K.
Pre-K, I
Pre-K
thought, yeah.
classroom downstairs, So I just think, just for the record and for people's awareness, that's what's going on. There was a comment made by the superintendent and, again, maybe they need to start looking at the facilities usage, but it wasn't discussed that way or in any detail. And the board had elected not to fund that for this year. So it does look like, at least at the elementary schools, that's going to be something that's needed. That was my takeaway from the meeting on Monday.
Thank you. Perfect.
It's
I
going to make
appreciate
things
it.
a little tight at central office, but it's probably something that's worth, for a year, we'll be able to get by up there.
Mike, this is Mary. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay. Ron, on the extra teaching section for the Stephanie,
Stephanie?
the one that Joe wrote, is that going to cause any impact to the budget?
So we're going to have to look at it. If we can't fund it through the budget, we have grant funds available. So
Okay.
it's going to be one or the other. So
Okay. And then the same with the preschool, they're kind of keeping their eye on that. So that would be funded for grants or whatever too,
yeah,
if needed.
yeah.
Okay.
I believe that was going by recollection. I believe that was in the budget and anticipated.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that one was built in.
Yeah.
We knew we had some expansion, if I recall the budget. Feels like it was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was.
Okay. All right, we're gonna move on to public participation. Anybody there from the public? Don't see anyone. All right. Unfinished business. We still have our 3-year budget model. Any updates on that?
No, I think I don't know if I had reported to you guys a month or two ago. I was, looking to get you guys a draft by September. For the September.
That's what I
meeting.
thought. I just want to make
Yeah.
sure we're all still in the same track. Perfect. That would be great. All right, new business. Ken, you're up. Proposed budget transfer.
Thank you. So there's 2 items that I'm putting before you tonight that I'm requesting your adoption. The first is kind of our, become our standard annual kind of effort here to, that funds get budgeted in the HR wage adjustment line during the budget process. And then as collective bargaining agreements are finalized, negotiated, finalized, and approved by the town council, once that's done, those have to be dispersed out into the departments. So we need an authorizing resolution to do that once town council approval has been secured. And then the second piece of it is, as you know, every year we also have to fund increases in the unaffiliated positions, part-time employees, et cetera. And so that is the second portion of the proposed resolution. So that's pretty much it. Again, this is the kind of the standard we've done last few years. So.
Someone want to?
Want to do these one at a time, or you want to?
Yeah, you want to do them one at a time? Sure.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Steve still
Want
up
me to go
for
ahead
it?
and do it, Mike?
Of course I do.
Silly
question.
He was holding out.
All right.
It's Steve's job.
Somebody else.
Exactly.
It's all in front of me.
Job security.
I'll read the resolution and ask for a second. Resolution to authorize the first selectman to transfer available funds from the HR wage adjustments for fiscal year 2023. Resolved that pursuant to Chapter 8, Section 7G of the Charter for the Town of Monroe, the first selectman is authorized to transfer available funds from the HR wage adjustments account for FY23, and that these transfers are necessary to effectuate retroactive and prospective salary payments A, pursuant to certain collective bargaining agreements as authorized and approved by the town council, and B, as determined by the first selectman for certain unaffiliated employees in an amount not to exceed $98,000 in the aggregate.
Okay, do we have a second?
Yeah, Rebecca O'Donnell, second.
Any questions, discussions?
None here.
None here. Good. None here either. It's all good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Beautiful. All right. Next up.
All right, so the second item is not usually what we're facing. So we have an interesting dynamic in the labor market that's occurred since the budget adoption process was completed, and that's primarily in relation to licensed professionals. The job market has changed quite a bit. There are licensed professionals are kind of getting recruited all over. We literally, you've got the state of Connecticut recruiting people away because they've had a ton of retirements. There's been a lot of movement throughout municipalities of different personnel. It's created significant recruitment challenges. The best example I could give you is in our building department. We have considerable staffing shortages in the building department. It's been an issue that's been kind of brewing for a while. We have brought in I brought in temporary staff from other departments that are working evenings and weekends currently. But we have openings there that have been challenging to recruit for. The health department's another good example where we have licensed sanitarians, and the long and the short of it is, while we can still, we're looking to fill those positions within the existing pay plans. However, we need to, whereas you normally you look at an open position and usually can fill that with a entry level or someone lower in the scale. And that's usually the way we budgeted. That is not what's occurring here. We need to be looking, probably the higher ends of those ranges. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we are aware of some potential retirements in some positions as well, which we expect will be similar concerns due to the licensed professional status. So the good news is that, and again, it's unrelated, but it will be related because this is the piece of the puzzle connected. When the state partnership plan came in with their final rates, I think we talked about this during the budget process. We had budgeted 8%. They came in at 10.5%. We thankfully did. I think it was it was the Board of Finance that I had asked at the last minute because we were fearful that it was going to come in that high, to add more to the contingency line to be able to address that. So we are budgeted at that 10.5% level between HR insurance and contingency. When it came in at 10.5%, I didn't want to just sit back and say, okay, well, that's great. We'll just, we have it budgeted, let's march along. So we did go out to market to see if there were ways to, kind of save money for our employees and our taxpayers. So the good news is that, and this is something that we've already communicated to the unions and the employees, we were able to get a comparable plan, apples to apples plan with another carrier. So we will be leaving the state partnership plan effective September 1st and moving to a plan from United Healthcare. And so if you go by the rates that were in effect at the end of last fiscal year, June 30th, again, we were facing a 10.5% increase from the state partnership plan. We'll be getting a 2.5% decrease.
From your current.
Well, not from current, because the 10.5 already kicked in for July 1st. But if you compare it to June 30th of last year, in other words, our baseline basically, so again, we know that, there's a lot of competition because the partnership plan is becoming more expensive. So, we know that this is, this kind of savings is going to be a one-time thing, but we're not locked into anything in future years. And so it's obviously, it's almost a no-brainer, right? So that is something that we'll be moving forward with council. We're moving forward very in earnest to do all the logistics that are necessary to get that done. So we're going to have considerable actual savings in our HR insurance line as a result. So that is an area where I would like to utilize a portion of those savings for budgetary adjustments in some of these other department lines so that we can have enough funding for the not just the temporary staffing that we're utilizing currently, but also to fund open positions at higher rates that are currently budgeted.
So
Yes.
this is Mary, I have a question.
Yeah.
So to fund, it's $80,000 to fund,
Well,
you're gonna move the 80,000, but it's
Well,
for
Up to
open,
80,000.
up to $80,000. But how many open positions are you looking at to fill?
So,
'Cause this says open-
and again, this is an amount not to exceed 80,000. So we would transfer as necessary when, if we were able to get a candidate at a rate, an offer was extended that was accepted at a certain rate, to the extent it exceeds the budget amount, the budgetary
Okay.
amount, we would use that $80,000 pool to transfer to cover that delta. So currently we have three open, there were three open positions between building and health. Now that doesn't include an administrative position, but I'm not including that in this pool because that's not a licensed individual. That's not really causing the problem. It's contributing to the staffing shortage, but it's not this issue. So there's three there. In addition, as I said, we had temporary staff that we're bringing in at market rates, hourly rates, because we need bodies in these positions while we're recruiting. I actually want to have some overlap so that once we actually bring on full-time staff, I want to retain temporary staff for a period of time, not long, but even if it's a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, because I want to make sure we've addressed any backlog because we are dealing with backlog in some cases, and to stabilize things. And then I'm sorry, there's actually a fourth opens because we have an opening in a nursing position as well. And then we have, like I said, at least a couple of other retirements that we think are likely to occur that will present some more challenges. So
This is Rebecca. So I have a question. So I understand market competitiveness. Are you expanding salary ranges for those roles?
no, these are.
So this is
within
just
the
for
existing-
onboarding.
It's within the existing ranges, but higher than they were budgeted.
Okay, higher than budget. And then do you have any risks in other departments where you would be looking for retention? To give retention bonus to hold on to
We have-
people,
we-
like just to remain competitive in the market.
I know that's a very common private sector tool.
Yeah.
It's not one that's
Here.
widely utilized in the public sector.
Okay.
It's something that I've certainly,
Might be something to think about because
Thought about-
this
I've
is a
thought
tough
about it,
market
but
you're dealing with.
that would be,
I just know right
you would
now,
probably not have
the
enough.
market is
That would
crazy.
probably not, you'd probably be going in, you'd be looking at going into different funding sources if you want to go directions.
So
That's
Yeah.
kind of, yeah.
Ken, to follow up on Rebecca's question.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm sure she asked it because there's, rumbles that, people might be looking. I've heard things also, that people might be looking. Do you have any idea if we did give a retention bonuses to the number of people that you would be willing to give that to retain them, to keep that experience and talent in town?
it does include some legal, like you would have to do legal.
This is,
contracts and such,
actually,
but-
we're getting into collective bargaining. I don't really think I'm
Right.
comfortable having a conversation
Okay.
anymore because it's, there's a lot of issues that would arise
Okay.
if you go down that path, because we would have to negotiate that with for
Right.
separate.
So then that would be off the table, retention bonuses?
I'm not, I didn't say that. I just said it's.
It's not something we want to negotiate here. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to
Okay.
negotiate in public.
I-
It would be a very, I mean,
I have a question about the recruitment for these open positions. You
Yeah.
mentioned temporary staff are filling some of these vacancies now, and they're from other departments,
other towns.
other towns. Okay. And,
So I've gotten buildings, so example, building officials from other towns
okay,
that are coming in on evenings and weekends. And sometimes taking, they're as they can, flexibility, a lot of it is evenings and weekends. So during the afternoons, we've got some other individuals coming in, so.
any consideration given to using a recruiter or an agency to recruit for some of these if they're specialized and boutique in those areas?
Most of these, I see where you're coming from, but most of these positions are, you could have private sector people that could get a building official license kind of thing, but I don't know how common that is. For public health, having registered sanitarians are not, typically outside of government, So, I mean, it's really not a space that outside recruiters, in my experience, I can have the HR director look into that to see if that's something again, I don't perceive, I feel that if we, ramp up these positions to kind of, where they need to be attractive, I think we'll be okay
Mhm.
at this point. I mean, I don't, but your point is well taken. I mean, it's an avenue. I don't know that it would be, registered sanitarians is a good example because, it's a pretty much as a defined pool. I mean, there's a industry organization. There's a Connecticut Environmental Health Association, right? So they blasted out to that. That's pretty much every registered sanitarian in the state of Connecticut.
Mhm.
So,
I'm just thinking like
Yeah.
relos, like
Yeah.
national search type things. It's just,
Having like a managed service provider where you go to one place and then they go out to all the agencies and get you the candidates. They email it right to you.
I spent 18
Oh,
years in
yeah.
the industry, so
Yeah.
that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
If that any consideration is given.
I know what you're saying. I just, because you're dealing with people that have to, I think we know where the people are. It's just a matter of making it, making it attractive. I'll have HR look into it though. I think it's worthy of exploration. I just don't know if it's for those kind of positions. I'm not sure how necessary it is. If we're talking about a different kind of like, department head kind of thing, that might be a different story.
Now, Greg, would there be finder's fees involved with
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Well, and that's
Oh, yeah.
also
Yeah,
part
you
of
gotta
that,
take
you
that
know, you
into
have to, that
consideration.
would be part of that
Absolutely.
80,000.
Yeah,
And typically right now, I'm not in the industry anymore, but those rates are 25, 30,
30%
35%.
of salary, yeah. So just be careful.
Mhm.
Oh, I know. That's why we like to,
So Ken, I've got a question. You
Yeah.
said that all of this is within the current pay scale.
yep.
Is this in the whole market situation that you undertaking, you were the HR director now looking at the scales and where do you think we might have to do in terms of just moving our scales
They,
as a
HR is
separate
looking at that
activity?
as a future exercise. Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
Okay.
That would probably
Is there a
be
target as to when you,
next budget season.
before the next
Every budget season, we look at the pay plan. So it would definitely go into that. And if we needed to make a mid-course adjustment, we'd go to.
Well, that's my,
we'd go to
I guess
council.
that's what I'm getting
We'd go to
at. Do
council,
we
yeah.
have to,
But,
is there any individual jobs that might be getting close to the top of their
Mhm.
ranges? Okay.
Yep, on our radar.
All
You're,
right.
you're
Well,
not wrong.
yeah, because it's obviously got to go to council and so.
Right.
um,
All right, well, let's circle back to the resolution that's in front of us because
Yep.
I think basically what we're doing with this is just giving Ken the ability to have some flexibility to get these positions filled at a level that he needs it to be at. So I'm very comfortable with this. I think it's a great idea. We've got the funding source, which is great. What is the dollars on the HR savings? Ken, just in round numbers?
I'm gonna defer to Ron, but I know it's over 100, possibly 200.
Yeah,
right?
a conservative estimate in the calculation is a savings of about 160. And I think it's I think it's more.
Okay, so there's plenty of room there. All right,
I will
let's do
go
it.
ahead. Resolution to authorize the first selectman to transfer available funds from the HR insurance for fiscal year 2023. Resolved that pursuant to Chapter 8, Section 7G of the Charter for the Town of Monroe, the first selectman is authorized to transfer available funds not to exceed $80,000 from the HR insurance account, and that these transfers are necessary to fully fund certain open positions during FY23 in departmental wage and salary accounts, as well as for temporary staffing as necessary and appropriate.
Greg Benno, I second.
Greg. All right, anything more we want to dive into here? I know we kind of went we had a lot of discussion before the motion.
We got the discussion before the motion.
That's okay, it works that way too. Anybody have any other questions, concerns? All right,
None in the
hearing
room.
none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Beautiful. All right, Ken, get to work.
Thank you all.
Terrific. All right, review of the 2022 financial reports. Ron, you want to walk us through anything particular?
Sure. Let me start with the revenue. The revenue report's actually showing us at a deficit of 2.4 million. That's a little misleading because the first tranche of the ARPA grant is not booked in. We actually have it accounted for. It gets, let me rephrase it. It gets collapsed into the general fund for financial statement purposes, but we actually have it in a separate fund on our books. So that's a little misleading. I kind of have to work through how to handle it on the within the budget fund. Something I've never had to deal with before. I apologize.
Right.
So, but we're going to have a revenue surplus, and I'm not going to get into the tax side of it. I'll let Jeff speak to that later. Then on the expenditure side, all in, and again, there's I expect that number is going to grow a bit, but we're showing a surplus of just under 3 million overall. The Board of Ed surplus right now is just over 600,000. We're in the process of closing out key purchase orders over there. I expect that number to grow closer to probably about 1 million. And the town side, we'll be working through POs for the next 5 weeks or so. So we're in a good position.
I was going to say, do you have any bad news for me? I'm not used to all this good news. All right, that's great to
So
hear.
Mike, I've got a question for Ron.
Go for it.
And as we talked about the prior meeting, I sent him an email. So I'm interested in understanding where we are now, or think we will be, for the fund balance, the undesignated fund. I noticed as I went through the package, in the latter pages, the board package, page 68, 70, and 103, under the trial balances, there are, it says general fund balance of 14.6 million. Another account says undesignated fund balance of 14.014 million. And then on trial balance, page 18, it says undesignated fund balance 15.799 million. So I'd just like to understand what those differences are and what the expectation is. I understand, obviously, things are still in flight.
So let me pick off. So on page 68, the first question, the 14.6 million, that's actually a due from. And the town general fund, we actually have it segregated into multiple funds on the town books. All the cash accounts sit in fund 0000. So if you go 2 pages prior to page 66, you'll see an offsetting due from of negative 14.6 million.
Oh, okay.
And that's just the cash. And those, basically, those zero out, they offset each other.
Okay.
All right. And those are just due froms going in the opposite directions. Those are pages 1 and 3 in the quarterly statements, or pages in the PDF, they were pages 66 and 68.
Right.
The next one, page 70, that is the undesignated fund balance, the beginning undesignated fund balance. I don't think it's that wouldn't be closed at this point. About 14 million.
Okay. That 14 million is going to go up then as a result of the surplus. Okay.
On page 103, that undesignated, the unassigned fund balance, that's in the pension fund. That's actually for the pension.
Okay.
So if you look down below, see how it says totals for Fund 2801, defined pension town.
Yeah. Okay.
And I believe, did I answer all your questions?
You did.
Okay.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thanks, Ron. Anybody have anything else in the general fund? And then if not, then we'll jump to the tax collector.
We ended up the year really good. We ended up with a 1.2 million overall on the little short than $1 million on the current, but overall on the interest and the prior years. So we ended up in a very good position. And we hit a almost a 99% collection rate again.
Beautiful.
Mike, this is Steve. I have a couple of comments and one question. First of all, terrific work. Really like to see the prior year beating our budgeted amount. So that's excellent. Can you explain to me why on package page 33, the revenue, the graph, the pie chart?
Yep.
Why are personal property and motor vehicles always, it appears to, from my looking, less, not as highly collected?
It's hard to collect. It's hard to collect personal property. Businesses move out.
Mhm.
So we have a lot of businesses that move out and not collectible, and people don't pay their motor vehicles unless they have to register a motor vehicle. There is no incentive.
Oh.
So
Okay.
they, and unfortunately now, the state of Connecticut went through 3-year registration instead of 2 years. So we're going to see a slight decline in collections because there's no incentive there for people to pay to register their cars. And if they don't, they moved prior to that, we lost them completely. We do send it to a collection agency,
Right.
but there's
Right, I recognize
there's no
that.
fight in the collection agency. So those people just say, I'll pay the 15% fee. They don't have the money or whatever.
Okay, yeah, I recognize that it
mean-
ends up in prior and we go after it and so forth and so on, but I was looking back and I was like, if people are paying their real estate, why aren't they?
Well, most of them are
paying
escrow.
Okay.
Right. Most of them have a mortgage
And
that
that's
it's
true.
automatically paid, right?
Most people are
Correct.
escrowed with
Yeah.
the real estate.
Yeah.
So the bank collects that money in advance. So we're guaranteed that money.
Yeah.
Where if people have to pay their real estate, you know, I do have delinquent real estate, you know, it's just because there's a smaller piece of the pie out of the larger amount. You don't see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not anything to worry about. It just struck me as
Yeah.
odd, and I wondered what the reason
Yeah, the
was
difference
for it.
is
That's all.
when you have churn in the real estate market, those, you know, that tax continues, right? Because it's still going to remain a liability. When a business closes and a new one opens, that old business, if they're off if they're gone as of October 1st, and you can't find them,
I don't-
you're not getting the new personal property tax until the following grand list.
And
right?
we have
So
a
it's just-
lot
it-
of
it-
businesses,
so-
home businesses.
Yeah.
A lot of home businesses, a lot of home businesses. I was shocked at how many home businesses
Oh,
we
yeah.
have gotten since COVID. People have
Yeah.
opened businesses in their home, and they've sold the houses, and they call me up and say, well, I'm not paying that, I no longer live here anymore, I moved out of state. Or, I mean, I was shocked at one street in Monroe that had 6 personal property bills in a residential. And there's only 8 houses on that street, and I was like, every one of them, well, except 2, are open a home business. On a short
Okay.
street, and a lot of, and landscapers, it depends what time of year is and how well they're doing. They'll come in and pay it when they have the money. If they're not paying, you know, landscapers are the worst, and Monroe is like the landscape capital of the. We have a lot of landscapers.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Deb.
You're welcome.
All right, treasurer.
Well, here I am, a month into the new position, still
There you
getting
go.
my feet on the ground, but I've got to help, thank Ron and Heidi. They're terrific to work with. As of today, Heidi set me up with access to the various accounts. I'm meeting with Jan over at Newtown Savings Bank tomorrow, just to kind of get acquainted. But as we were reviewing some of the accounts, I saw 2 where maybe the interest isn't keeping up with current trends, and at least raise that to see what our options are on that when we go in tomorrow. As far as the investment for fiscal year 2022, it came in at 169,132 against an initial budget of 80,000, which was above it by 89,312. Which was 211% of plan. So kudos go to Pat O'Hara and to the finance team. Obviously, there was a good benefit from the favorable rate and rising interest rate environment. The state stiff rates improved from a 0.11% in July 1 of 2022 to a 1.5% at the end, June 30th of 2023. So a good rising rate in terms of the investment fund. Anticipate 2023 to move in that direction. The stiff rate hit a new high as of today at 1.59%. And the stiff is I'm sure you all know, the short-term investment fund rate.
Right.
There's no near-term change to the investment strategy right now. I will continue to watch what the trends are in terms of interest rates, what the Fed's doing between now and the end of the year. But right now, it's on a good track.
How much do we have out in CDs right now?
I'm going to turn to Ron on that.
Right now, all the CDs have been there. Everything's back in the
In cash?
general fund, you know, because we're getting the stiff rate, which was actually better than as Pat was leaving, that was the thought process. Yeah.
Okay,
No, I think it was a really good strategy at the time, though.
Oh, absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely.
okay.
That's all I have, Ron.
Very good. Appreciate it. Month public school fund activity statements. Anything there you want to call out, Ron?
Well, I kind of brushed on it earlier where we're ending up. I don't know if anyone has any more specific questions. One thing I will mention, which got into pretty good detail at the board meeting. We were able to pick off some projects at the school, some that were in the capital plan, some that were emergency repairs. You've got 5 buildings, that were built between 1935 and 1998. So, things go wrong, unfortunately. And there's,
Yes, they do.
so, from pipe repairs in the, at Monroe and the heating system to new pavement. There was a big sinkhole out in front of Monroe that got repaired, to removal of a gym floor. And a lot of these projects need to get, if possible, get picked off when school's out. Makes it a lot easier. So there's a lot of busy stuff going on. Not real exciting stuff, but necessary stuff.
So, Ron, this is Mary. You said earlier that you thought or you said that the Board of Education was going to underspend by about 600,000.
I said that's where it stands now.
That's where.
We're closing purchase orders. Though.
Okay,
I
so.
expect that number to grow.
So if I look on the report, the year-to-date budget report.
So which one are you looking at, Mary? There's 2 in there. There's June and May.
Yeah, be sure you're gonna.
Yeah, there's May's in there because that never got reported. So that's a little stale at this point. And I apologize. I couldn't state that earlier.
Thank you. Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
One last question, Mike.
Go ahead.
When do because this is my first year, closing out a year or 2. When are all the requisitions, purchase orders closed out so we know what the final numbers are?
So on the board side, we need solid numbers by August 1st because we start with there's a reporting that gets done to the State Department of Education. And right by the end of July, early August, we're looking to, we might, with the paving season on the town side, those might float into August.
So when they continue to update a purchase order, does it go into how does it get reflected in these reports then? Because if this report is now June, the
Yes.
fiscal year ended in June.
So if there's an adjustment to a purchase order, let's say something that isn't encumbered comes in and needs to hit fiscal year 22. We'll go back and put an effective date in there of 22.
So you'll go back to the prior year
Yeah,
if it comes in.
the year's actually, fiscal year 22 is still open.
Fiscal year.
Right. Typically takes about 60 days, Mary, before it's all closed out and locked up. And typically in September, we're doing the transfers.
Okay, so then we would get sometime in September, at the September meeting, would we get a final by how much the Board of Education and then how much on the municipality budget would get? We would get that then?
We certainly, I'm trying to think if historically, if we, give you anything after, we certainly could. By then we're reporting into the next fiscal year, but after the year-end transfers are done, we could give you an up-to-date report after that.
Could we get that so that we
Absolutely.
understand? Because otherwise we wouldn't see it until we start doing.
No, you wouldn't see it until the audit report is finalized.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure a high level, on the macro level, when you do the year-end transfers, you got that.
Yeah.
High level, but
Yes.
if you want. But.
High level is fine, Ken.
Yeah, that's there. It's just this granularity, like if you wanted to go down that.
We could provide you with.
You get that.
Usually, after the transfers are done by the Board of Finance, we send that out, the financials out to the auditors. Stop at that point. It's odd entries after that.
Okay.
Well, and then in the budget binder, you'll have last year.
Prior year,
Yeah.
that's why I said.
Yeah, but she's
because I
saying, can
wouldn't
we see it
I
sooner? Right.
wouldn't see it until
Yeah.
we were actually doing
Right.
the budget.
And the answer is, yeah, you can generate a summary by object code at a
So
high level.
if we could get that, could we then prepare some understandings of why we underran? Like if an account underran by like 20%, and it's a significant dollar. I mean, 20% could be a $5,000 budgeted item. But 20% on a $2 million item, okay, is significant in my opinion.
Right.
So could we sit down or present at that meeting when you're going to hand it out to us, some understanding of why they underspent 20%, and on the other side, why somebody might have overspent 30%? Okay? Could we,
That's possible.
okay?
A lot of data.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
I
thinking,
wouldn't do it at every single one.
Right.
That's why I'm saying,
I just-
if you've got a $60 million budget, okay, and you've underspent.
Yeah, I mean, I
You're
think,
gonna see that with fuel and this
yeah, I mean, there's,
Fuel, electricity.
yeah.
electricity.
I mean, I could go like on the board side, there's 2,000 lines and
I wouldn't want you to do it on 2,000 lines. I'm saying the high level, okay,
You
of,
could pick
By-
up the
by-
trends,
by
like
object
we know
codes.
the trends.
Yeah.
The summary by object code. Right, that's 3 page, on the Board of Ed, that's 3 pages.
exactly.
I didn't even think-
You pick out the significant items in that. That's doable, isn't it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think most of it, you're gonna
See or no.
identify during the end of your budget transfers anyway.
Right.
Right.
In terms of where there's.
Yeah, anything that was
Yeah,
overspent, you're gonna
overage.
have to transfer
It's just-
anyways,
Yeah,
so
it's just,
you're
it
gonna
may
have
be
to
a
make a
matter of,
transfer to cover.
yeah, it might just be
That's
a
a
matter
good
of
point.
identifying where the,
The cause, not where,
Yeah,
because the where we're
It's
gonna
right there.
know,
Yeah.
the cause of it
And we could just,
requires a couple of words.
we could just walk through that when
When we're doing it, when we're making the motion. Okay,
thank you.
I think so.
okay, that makes sense.
All right. Anything else, Ron, you wanna hit us on the quarterly funds or?
yeah, so again, some of the, where are we on E now?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes, sir.
in your pack every month are the quarterly filings, and actually Steve's questions that I addressed earlier were part of the quarterly filings, which give you the balance sheet and income statement for each fund. And also included in your packs are the quarterly filings for the fire departments, which were part of the audit comment that we addressed. And I believe that was discussed a meeting or two ago.
Yeah.
So those are in your pack for review. I didn't really have anything prepared to say on any of that, but again, addressing Steve's questions on the, if anyone has any questions, I'd be more than happy to entertain anything. As far as the fire departments, it may require going back to them if you have any specific questions on those. That was the second PDF.
Right.
Yeah.
So my comment is, because we haven't gotten this before, so I need some more time to go through this and understand.
With you,
what it
Steve,
is.
because I didn't really, I flipped through it very cursory. I didn't really get a chance to go through it either.
Yeah.
The good news is there's a lot of information there. The bad
Yeah.
news is there's a lot of information there.
Yeah. So, yeah, is there something, so let me ask it this way, is there something that we should be paying attention to? Is there something, items that are more critical to look at, or again, without going through it?
So I think the thing to remember is that they're separate, because I remember I asked, do you guys group it together? And no, it costs way too much in inefficiencies to do that. So I would just bear that in mind, that when you look at it, it is separate.
Yes, they
When
are,
you say
they are,
separate, three separate departments.
Three separate departments, yeah.
they are actually three separate nonprofit
Right.
organizations,
Volunteer.
different legal entities from the town
Right.
that, we provide them basically grants for the firefighting operations, right? So you are going to see differences in how they, one department, I believe, has an accountant that's doing it. One department has in-house expertise that they're doing. They may be using different systems and.
Yeah, it's very organized. I mean,
So
what
it's-
I reviewed, it's
Yeah.
still very all organized and,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think, the spirit of all of this is, our collective job is to make sure that the funds are being spent, appropriately. And that's really all it comes down to. Is it going towards what we had approved in the budget process for the grant. So,
This very much reminded me of going through the warrants, at the Board of Ed and looking at the checks and all of that, which, now it's just done pro forma and they don't talk about it. I mean, I don't know the last time that somebody questioned the warrants at the Board of Ed meeting, but that's what this, where you're seeing every check to whom it was written and all that. So that's the way I'm going to go through and look at it.
I'll tell you though, I think we've come a long way in standardizing their budgeting and reporting, and they've done
Without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, there was a town council strategic planning committee actually had a meeting last night, and one of the items on their agenda was a review of the fire study that had been done several years ago and the progress made to date against that. And one of the items that we discussed quite a bit was just that actually Ron was there. So, I mean, I think it's a shared sentiment, on council and others too, that, the standardized budgeting and, this kind of data that we're now getting, I think it's definitely improved and evolved over time in
a good way.
In a good way.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And and they've been working well together to kind of, help us get there. So. It's good.
All right. Anybody got anything else?
Steve Kirsch, motion to adjourn.
Perfect. Thank you, Steve.
Second, Mary Hall, second.
Excellent.
Without objection.
All right, guys. Thank you very much.
All right.